Hello there, Natasha. Luke Thomas McDonald here from your class, and I'm recording this video today as part of our journal entry series that will be ongoing through the semester. My first one was typed up, so in the spirit of your recommendations of keeping things fresh, keeping things a little bit creative, I've decided that I'm going to be doing a little bit of video journaling for some of these journal entries in addition to my own typed writing. So I just want to lay out the format for my video entry today. I'm going to be briefly talking about the process for why I'm choosing these videos, why I'm using video, before then connecting it to my first previous journal entry, then discussing some of my biggest takeaways from our class on January 10th, and before I will conclude on some of my thoughts and wonderings, further wonderings if you will, in terms of urban education. So I'll connect with my previous journal entry first. In this journal entry, I detailed a growing anxiety in myself due to a lack of community engagement and awareness, especially in what we would typically describe as an urban education setting. For the past 2 years, I've been volunteering with the Jane and Finch Tennis Association, in which we tutor and coach children in the Jane and Finch community in tennis and homework tutoring after school at the Aviva Center attached to York University. And it's a really excellent program I've been happy to be involved in, but unfortunately due to scheduling constraints with this last year of my Bachelor of Education program, I'm unable to make the dates that I would usually volunteer there for. So that was definitely giving me a little bit of anxiety, as you know, that's one of my, admittedly, I'm very naive to the concept of urban education, but that was one way in which I try to at least give back to communities that I will likely be teaching in and I'm working in and are, a neighbor to my university. So that was giving me a bit of anxiety. And one way that I was trying to remedy that was to become a bit more directly involved in my own community in terms of volunteering and community initiatives. So one thing I did last Sunday, which I mentioned in my previous journal, was to meet up with my local parish and some of the Knights of Columbus working there, and I helped my local parish take down the Christmas ornaments, which was a very rewarding experience, and I think it's going to lead to actually some more volunteer opportunities. I'm actually going to go swing by the church after this video and see how I can help out this week as well. So that was my way of trying to engage with my community, and the idea of community is something that I personally feel essential to urban education. Moving on to our January 10th class, it was a relatively short class, as you know. We cut it a bit early, but my biggest takeaway was obviously from the in-class discussions that we had. I thought they were really excellent. My biggest takeaway specifically was from one of my colleagues named Calvin. He mentioned this idea. It was actually a suggestion that I brought up, that perhaps sometimes we value certain types of intelligence, such as logical intelligence, problem-solving skills, specifically in the maths and science field. Sometimes we privilege those types of intelligences over more creative enterprises such as writing, painting, storytelling, dance, the culinary arts, for instance, physical education, athletics. It seems that the types of intelligences that are rooted in logic and problem solving sometimes get a bit more privileged. But I was really happy that Kelvin suggested that this might not always be the case. It could be my own education, my own upbringing, that perhaps that is the unfortunate trend that I'm seeing, perhaps. But he shared his experience of being a science student and a Catholic at that as well, so balancing creationism and a little bit of evolutionism, with attending a high school that is rooted, it's a performing arts high school. And in his school, he said all types of intelligences were very much appreciated and in many senses given equal celebration and held in equally high esteem. So that was very promising to hear that from Calvin, and it's something that I'm certainly going to take into my practicum this year and further teaching practices, and do my best to really inquire into my students' various strengths and intelligences, and make sure I'm giving the appropriate feedback and praise, and not making students feel that just because they're creative doesn't mean that they're not intelligent, and kind of disrupting the difference between those two terms, and maybe finding a more holistic term to describe one's ability and what one contribute to the classroom. So that will be a teaching endeavor for me. Finally, I'd like to conclude with my own kind of philosophical wonderings and inquiries about different teaching practices and styles related to urban education. I think this class is really going to disrupt my idea of urban education, so I'm really looking forward to that. But just at this point, I think I have a general understanding of what we typically describe as an urban school, maybe problematically, but I wanted to know what urban education, or more so urban teaching, looks like, and what are the differences perhaps between urban education or urban teaching and suburban teaching or rural teaching. I wanted to know how drastically different these teaching approaches are, or are they so drastically different at all? So in summation, I really am looking forward to further discussions with my classmates, getting involved in my community and looking for opportunities to re-engage myself in the Jane and Finch community, as well as really ironing out some of the nuances of urban education and the implementation of an urban education teaching style opposed to perhaps teaching in a more rural or suburban setting. Thank you very much for listening to this video, Tassia. I'm sorry it's a little bit over time. I'm going to try and keep my next video entries under 5 minutes. I just felt this one needed to be a little bit long to kind of explain what I was doing. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you in class on Friday. Bye bye now.